welcome back to my channel. I'm Huck. Today I'm doing a review for A Psalm for the Wild-Built by Becky Chambers. So this is a novella that is the first book in her Monk and Robot series. It is a hope punk sci-fi, so it's set in this future that feels very hopeful and optimistic and inclusive. And in this world, centuries ago, robots gained consciousness, and when they did, they kind of wandered out into the wilderness, and the humans made a deal that essentially they would leave the robots alone and not bother them out in the wilderness. But now one robot has been sent back to kind of check in with humans and find out what's been going on and what do humans need. And this robot encounters our main character. So our main character is Dex, and Dex is a tea monk. So they start out as a garden monk, but then become a tea monk because they kind of have like a quarter life crisis. Dex is probably like late 20s, early 30s, and when they're a garden monk, they kind of get this urge to change their life. They don't really know what they're doing with their life, and so they become a tea monk so that they can travel, because a tea monk is someone who travels around and essentially like listens to people's problems and gives them tea and comfort. And so Dex starts traveling around and being a tea monk, and they become a very good tea monk, but then realize that there's still something missing, and so they decide to strike out on their own into the wilderness, and that is where they encounter the robot. And I really enjoy this world that Becky Chambers has created. It is very soft, it's very optimistic, it has this very inclusive view of the future. I really like the way that she writes like the role of technology in this world, the fact that when robots gained consciousness, humans like didn't try to control them. They just made a deal and were like, okay, you guys go live out in the wilderness and we won't bother you. That they also are using technology they're building technology to be more sustainable. I just really like this world. It is a world that, you know, you'd actually want to live in, which honestly in SFF is relatively uncommon to like find a world that I'm like, yes, I would actually want to live here. I would love to be a tea monk or a garden monk or like any of these things. So yeah, and like in this world they have this balance of technology and nature, and it just like, I would love to be a tea monk in this world. I also really liked the themes in it. I think that Becky Chambers always brings up some really interesting like themes and questions in her books. This one in particular gets a little bit philosophical at times. It has some interesting conversations about like purpose and finding your way and who you want to be, especially in your like 20s and 30s, and figuring out what you want to do and who you want to be. I also really enjoyed that when Dex and the robot meet, that, you know, they spend a lot of time like kind of learning about each other. They're challenging their assumptions about each other, understanding each other's cultures and perspectives, understanding different, you know, value systems and ways of living and just doing things differently. And I think that that is something that Becky Chambers does in a lot of her books, and I think she does very well, is having this kind of conversation about like understanding and appreciating and respecting other cultures and other values and other just like ways of being. And something that I really like about the way that she writes, whether it's, you know, aliens or robots or AI or whatever it is that I think that she writes them in a way that is like they are believably coming from a different worldview. They're not just like aliens or something that are just like green people. Like they have all the same culture and values and like perspectives as all of the other people. They just happen to like look slightly different. I think that she writes, you know, non-human perspectives in a way that feels like it's actually different, and then creates those kind of interesting conversations about understanding and respecting other cultures and like other experiences. So I always really enjoy that about her books. Something that I also liked in this book was that there are gods in this world. And I always think a religious system is really interesting. I kind of wish that there had been more about them. I'm hoping that in future books we will find out more about the gods and religion of this world, but that's definitely something that I really liked about this. I also hope that we find out more about Dex's family, because we don't find out, we know a little bit, like we get some tidbits about their family, but I kind of hope to learn more about them in future books. I think, like a lot of her books, this book doesn't have a lot of plot to it. And while I'm not really a plot-focused reader, I'm definitely more of a character reader. I also just never feel super motivated or like driven to continue reading her books. There's just something about them that I just don't feel the need to continue on. So it took me a little bit longer than it really should have to read such a short book. And to some extent, I wonder if that has to do also with the writing, because Becky Chambers' writing style, while it's not bad at all, it just is not necessarily one that like is super engaging to me. Her writing style is very simple, I think. I think it's well written, but it's in a more simple style, which I know a lot of people really enjoy, and that can be part of the appeal of her books. For me, I think I would like something that had a little bit more atmosphere to it, especially in this type of book where they are spending a lot of time like out in nature, in the wilderness, and they're like making tea and all of this. Like those are things that I think could create a lot of atmosphere, and I really would love to just like sink into the vibes of like making tea and like the cozy ritual of that, or just being out in the wilderness. But I just like didn't get as much atmosphere as I personally would want from this. And I think that that would have been something that would have kind of motivated me to keep reading, because atmosphere is also something that will like just suck me into a book and make me want to keep reading it. But one, I don't think that's necessarily something that would bother other people, and two, I don't necessarily think that's something that she was kind of doing with this. I think that, you know, she's more so focusing on kind of the themes and philosophical elements of the book, which I really enjoy. So I probably will be continuing the series when the next book comes out, because I do like the themes and questions and everything that comes up in this. And I think that Becky Chambers, for me, is an author that probably will work better in novella form than in like a full book length, just because I have a hard time with like momentum in her books, but in a shorter format, I think that it works better for me. So I gave it 4 stars. So that is all for my review of A Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, bye.